Calling me back to Canada periodically.
All right, good afternoon. It is really a tremendous honor to have Oren Lyons, faith keeper on the Onondaga, here with us today. And it's really an incredible honor because the very, very first broadcast that we did was in 4 years ago at NCAI. And Oren came to bless the air. We have a lot of air here. But now we're going out really all over the country and all over the world where people are starting to follow the platform for the native voice as we had envisioned it. And it really started many, many, many years ago. We first met on, it was 74 or 1975, when my wife, Marcia Keegan, got an assignment from Parade magazine to go up to Onondaga and interview Oren, who was the first buffalo keeper there, among other things. And it was an incredible experience meeting Oren at that time. And that level of incredible has lasted all these years, all of the work that Oren has done towards sovereignty, towards indigenous people's rights. I won't go into the long end of the story, but we published Oren's big book, Exiled in the Land of the Free, which is now going to become in movie form very soon. There's a movie festival around his life. And I can say that as far as influences are concerned, Oren has been one of the biggest influences in my life. What would Oren do? I ask that often. So Oren, it is such an incredible 40 years or so. It goes back a long time. And Oren is here in Santa Fe at Indian Market, and as always, really has a message, and whatever the message is, we're going to follow. Also with Oren, we have Boye, one of the spokespeople for Indian country today. And we really need spokespeople. We really need people to carry the message, to fight the new battles. What Oren was fighting back in the 70s still has the same message to it, to stay strong, to stay on message, and to validate the importance of the wisdom of the elders. So, Oren, thank you for being here, and the mic is yours.
Well, you know what? You're talking about respecting, myself, my work. I'm just a runner for the nation. That's all I've been from the beginning. And when the clan mother asked me to take that position, I was in 1965. I was working in New York City at that time in advertising. I was in commercial art, and it would mean dropping everything there and coming home. And I did. I agreed to do that. And I was pretty young at the time. And the first thing I learned, working with the Council of Chiefs, is to sit still and be quiet, and listen to what's going on until you know and understand. And my observation is that it takes about 15, 16 years to make a chief before you understand what really is the principles. Longer than that, actually, but you begin to act responsibly. And our council, the titles are for life. So now I'm going into my 56th year on the council, and I've seen a lot. And I'm the runner. I've been out there. I don't handle my own language very well, but I know the white man's language very well, and so I'm out dealing with that. And I consider myself to be a runner, but the other day we kind of took stock of our council, and Chief Irving Powless Jr., Young Irv we call him, and Young Oren they used to call me. We're the last on the council now. You know, I'm 87 and Irv is 87 and a half. He's 6 months older than I am. And so we're the last ones that I know of council when we sat down. So it's changed. And with that change of over these 55 years, I've seen leadership change around the country. All the old leaders, all the old chiefs, they're gone. You don't see them anymore. You hear about them once in a while, but you know, what I see as the nature of life is just move on. People just move on. I don't remember a lot. You know, they don't remember how hard people worked and who they were. It's interesting to me how quickly people will just proceed. And what I see now, of course, is our young people really in a super bind and dealing with stuff that we never had to deal with. You know, I use this observation to kind of set a parameter of what you're thinking about and who you are and where we are. About 1950, I was just 20 years old, just trying to stay out of jail. Not really trying that hard either. but anyway, 1950 there were 2.5 billion people in the world. And it took millions of years to reach that number of 2.5 billion people. And here we are 67 years later, and there's 7.5 billion people in the world. In the last 67 years, almost tripled the population, and that puts a huge impact on everything. So what I see for the young people that can't keep up with the teachers, there's not enough teachers to keep up with how fast the young people are coming, and at the same time, with the internet, with all of the electronics that are moving everything so fast, the young people are caught up in that very, very heavily. Everybody has got their head down. Everybody's looking at this. And when you got your head down, you can't see what's coming. Number one. Keep your head up and see what the hell's coming. But I see everybody with their head down. And that's not just Indian people, that's straight across the whole world. So understanding who you're dealing with, understanding where the power and where the battle is. Those people that make those machines, those people that do, they're the ones that are advancing. And so the philosophy that I heard, you know, lately with America, we'll talk about America. And I want to say one thing, that our people here long before America ever was, or even thought of, our people were here, old people. Been here a long time. And so now we see the lack of history of our people. They don't know their own history anymore. They're caught up in things, and they're caught up in actions, and they're caught up in distractions. Meanwhile, corporations are taking everything, and profits are huge. Nobody's watching the store. The door's wide open and they're in there raiding the pantry left and right. And so in those enclaves, yesterday I was down at Suzuki, in those old houses and those old places where many people have been there for so many years. It's neglected by our own people. We're not looking back for where that substance, where that base of our strength is, which is understanding our relationship to the earth and understanding our responsibility to the earth. And that's what we have been assigned, and that's what we have done, and that's what the ceremonies are all about. And that's Thanksgiving. It's being thankful and being respectful and protecting those generations coming. The responsibility of the current leadership is to be looking out for those future generations. And that's not rhetoric. That's not rhetoric. That's rule of law. That's what we should be doing. And I'm trying hard. And so I see the distractions not only of Native Indian kids, but all children. Everywhere in the world, it's the same thing. And so in the meantime, it's all about money. The values of nature, or you could say the moral foundation of our nations, a very powerful moral foundation where we know who we are, we know our relatives, we know the responsibilities. Well, today, with the technology, it's moved our people right past that. So now they know more about the technology than they know about the earth. So I would say that the strength of Onondaga, the Haudenosaunee Six Nation, has been we kept our ceremonies and we keep our leadership is not dealing with the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Our leadership is still home where it belongs. We don't have anything to do with it. BIA has nothing to do with who I am. And so it's been a long process, and I don't fault any nation. I don't hold any kind of an attitude, because I know our people have suffered so bad. Every time, everywhere, all the time, right up to today. And so the education of our youth, of our young people, the next generation, has to come from the elders. And it has to relate to the responsibilities of our relationship to the earth itself. To understand that water is life. Without water, there'll be nothing. We're coming to that point now where the biggest battles in the world are going to be over water. With 7.5 billion people, not enough land, not enough food, not enough water. With the nations within the United States, you got to remember that our brother, who sits in Washington, D.C., is not going to give you other land once your land is out of water. He's not going to give you another piece. So you have to preserve what you have where you are at this point. You have to understand that. You can't trade that for business. You can't trade that for anything, because then you become homeless. Homeless in our own land. And if you go to Chicago or Denver or LA, you see our people there on the street. But they were moved back there in 1954. They moved them by force. Just took them from home and put them out there. They're still there. Street people. Landowners. People that own this land. Out there in the street. So the responsibility of leadership is not making a lot of money, securing your land rights. I'm talking about, I was so proud of the people at Sandy Rock. It made me feel good. See those people stand up, see those young people come. They need that training ground. They need that problem so they can get in there and deal with it. That's how you learn. Back in our days, we were out there on the roads all the time. I mean, that was a way of life. We were battling, whether it was the fish up there in the northwest, or whether it was Lakota country, or we were battling. We were fighting northeast, south, all the time, and we come together strong. We re-energize ourselves. You have to understand that the policy of the United States towards Native people is to remove our identity, erase our identity, so everybody is American, U.S. citizen. That's not our identity. We know our nations, we know who we are, and that's what your children have to recognize. That's what you have to pass on to them, is who you are. We are who we are. We've been that way for a lot longer than our brother who's been here for 5 days. He said he's only been here 5 days, and look what happened. Look what's that? Look about and see. But I think the point of it all is when I come here and I see you guys, we're still here. We're still here. And we're here for the good of life altogether. For the good of our brother who doesn't know better. We still have to look out for him even though he doesn't look out for us. We're beyond that. We have a bigger vision. We have a broader work. And now we have to educate him now in a very short period of time to change his values or suffer the consequence. We're into global warming. It's coming fast. It's coming hard. It's the forces of the universe, and you're not going to negotiate with them. There's nobody to negotiate with out there. You can't negotiate with a beetle. He's going to eat your tree no matter what. He has his law. He knows who's boss. So the beetles are moving. They're killing all the trees. It's warming up. Can't go in the woods anymore because the ticks are there. Ticks can kill you now. We're in a real. We've violated our trust to the earth. Now we suffered the consequence of that. One thing you have to learn about nature is there's no mercy. There's no mercy in nature at all. Only the law. Only the rule. And you abide those rules, you abide those laws, you promote, you're going to have a good life. You challenge those laws, you're going to suffer the consequence. So our brother has brought us, and I use that word advisedly, our brother has brought us to this point now. Our survival of the human species is in question. We say 7 generations, and our council look 7 generations. It's pretty murky. It's pretty murky out there. You can't see 7 generations. And when I was just a boy running around in the woods, we never worried about that because you could see 7 generations. But in this short period of time, we've changed that. So 7.5 billion people, and the ice melting. The ice melting in the north, nature. Both are nature. You're not going to control either one. And so the universal law, the binding law of the universe will prevail, and it has no mercy. I remember having this discussion with John Mohawk, Rick Hill, we're sitting there, Barry Wise, and we're just having this discussion. And I regarded John Mohawk as the resident intellect of Iroquois. The guy was just smart, You couldn't keep up with him, he's way ahead of you. So we're having this discussion. And he says, well, as far as I can see, he says, the human beings are just a biological experiment. And he's very right.
Yep.
We've only been here a very short time when you count the Earth's years of the Earth and how long we've been here. There's no reason for us to be here. We eat everything, we take everything, we never give anything back. So what do you expect? We're not even thankful. When you take something, you don't even say thanks. You just take it. There's a consequence. So those ceremonies at home are coming up now. Green corn at home. It'll be 6 days we'll be dancing. 6 days of speeches. 6 days of Thanksgiving for green corn. And then we'll come to the harvest. Another 6 days. Then we'll come to the midwinter, 21 days. Thanksgiving. Dances and songs and being related, your relations, your relatives, round the clock. One time I was having a discussion with some financiers, our brothers and all the very wealthy people. And he asked me, he said, well, what's your bottom line? I said, I don't know. What's the question? What's my bottom line? Caught me off guard, you know. I said, what's my bottom line? So I said, give me a minute. Let me think about your question. And I said, I don't have a bottom line. I said, our life is in a circle. Spring, summer, fall, winter, spring. I said, we don't have a bottom line. You've got a bottom line. Because you want money. We don't have money. So we don't have a bottom line. We're part of the earth. That's our work. Our work is to be thankful. Our work is to have the ceremonies. Our work is to remind people of their responsibilities to life ahead of us. And when they put us up for chiefs of Onondaga, Boye, they call us, the good mind, peacemakers. When they put us up, they said, when you sit and you counsel for the welfare of the people, don't think about yourself. Don't think about your family or even your generation. They said, you think about those generations coming. That's your responsibility. Not you, not your family, not today, future. You take care of them, and you do what's good for them, you will have a good life. Because that's what it takes to keep that good. So, we're caught up in this, our brother's life, we're mixed in, there's no way around it. You know, there's just a few of us left. 330 million Americans, I think, last census. And count us all up together, maybe about 3 million. So 1% of the population is us. And that 1% has survived. We've stood against everything they could throw against us. Everything. We're still here. And when they're gone, we'll still be here if we stick to those ceremonies. We'll still be here because it's understanding your relationship to the earth and your responsibility. You know, you never pick the first medicine you see because that might be the last one. You have to go and see the next one. Maybe that one. It's just simple. Simple. But it's a law, it's a rule. It's how we survive. We're conserving, be careful of what you take. You don't leave a big mark on the ground when you leave or when you can. A long time ago, it used to be there were certain places where people stopped when they were traveling because there's either good water or good fishing or it was a place where people knew it was, you could replenish yourself. And when you came there to that spot, and you stayed there the night, the next morning, you put everything back the way it was, pick up that leaf and put it back, put that all back, put your tracks away, and see the next one coming could tell whether you were there or not. We used to do that. It was a game. So when you come to the camp, when you come to the camp, you start looking and say, it's a game we used to play. Everybody used to do that. Take a leaf and put it in a bag, walk around. That's what we used to do. Now, you think that way, try that. Everybody's too busy, no time. I gotta go here, I gotta go there. No time to say hi to Grandma, Grandpa. You know, it's hard. a hard life for our children right now. Very hard. They're caught in the worst bind there is. But that doesn't mean that we give up. That doesn't mean that we don't try. That doesn't mean that we won't give up the way we're supposed to. It's what you have in your heart. So I appreciate the fact that Harmon here is starting this radio business, giving a voice to our people. It's important because people are starting to hear our voice. When I went to New York City, 1959, I was at Pinocchio. I was that young guy going to go down there and take on the city. I couldn't get directions uptown. Nobody would talk to me. I said, how do you get? They walk right by. Now I go to New York, they say, can you tell us something? So something has changed. Something has changed. They know that we know something. And they're wondering how they can get what we know without having to pay for it. That's right where it's at. And we say it's free. It's free, what we know. Join us. Sit down. Be thankful. It doesn't cost anything. So I think my feeling is there's a global warming coming. We have a short period of time. It's coming fast. It's accelerating. It's compounding. It's going to be upon us so quick. Our brother has cut himself too much slack. He says, we got another 100 years. You ain't got 100 years. You ain't got 50 years. You haven't got 30 years. It's here. It's just going to get worse. And what's going to happen to us? You have to prepare for it. And so if you have a relationship with the earth, you have a place to go. You have a place, you're in the woods. The woods is our life. Everything's in the woods. Nobody owns the woods. But everybody's responsible. You go into those woods and you use what's in there, you're responsible. But everything's in there. Everything, all our life, everything is there. So you have to protect it. So what are you going to do when your brother comes with a chainsaw and just cuts it? I don't care how you try, it's still going to take 100 years for that tree to grow again. You knock it down in 5 minutes. Good man with a chainsaw knocked that tree down 5 minutes. It'll take 100 years for it to come back. I don't care what you do. 100 years is 100 years. And that's the discussion we're having. The reality versus what you think or what you want. So, that's a mouthful.
I've been a long time admirer of my friend here since the 1960s. For a lot of the people out there and that follow Native Media Network, many of them may not have the understanding, that our native people, just in the United States alone, we have over 560 First Nations or tribes, so to speak, nations within the South. In Canada, we have literally a couple of thousand different tribes, and we're all unique in our own way, and I think back, to the 1960s and 1970s, some of the all-time leaders that I profess to have followed, and a lot of their teachings, and I've always admired your taking the Akwesasne Six Nations to an international level, to the world courts, so to speak, United Nations, and talking treaty talk, that a lot of people lack that kind of understanding. And we look at our tribes, for people to come forth and say, all you Indian people, all you Native Americans, no, we're all distinct, unique. Though we may live maybe 10 miles apart, we are all distinct from one another, our culture, our traditions. But again, there's certain respect, our way of praying to the Creator. We look the reverence to the land, and we think about, the future, what is happening today, most recent elections. Never once did I ever hear the word compassion, giving and sharing. You look at the roots of our culture, everything's based on giving, love one another, sharing. Even in the world of dance, my world, it's always been the emphasis of love and respect for one another. Today I find this missing, and I think you alluded to a lot of that. And you think about, the people, the Six Nations, people out there may not realize that the U.S. Constitution was based on the Six Nations form of government, and you look at the contributions that they have made. And I think back to individuals such as Roger Jourdain, Earl Oldperson, Wendell Chino, Joe Dela Cruz, James Billy. You think about a lot of these leaders that had an impact, and I have to say, Oren, you've been one of them that has taken treaty talk to an international level, but most importantly, the lessons and reverence we have for Mother Earth. I think that message has to be put out there in a stronger sense today, especially being, 2017 and what is happening, the resources, what's happening to the land, and I think that word has to be reiterated a lot to the youth. A lot of the youth spend too much time looking at these computers and, dialing this out without listening to our elders and listening to the words that are being expressed today. And I think of, like I say, looking at Okasasne, you look at the tribes up in New York, the international level, that has to, I think that my question today is, what is the stand today? And I think a lot of the listening audience, what is the stand on free trade, travel, treaty rights, whether going internationally on boundaries, going to Canada, going to Mexico, going to the World Court? And I think a lot of people really don't have that understanding. I know I've been asked that many times. What is the official stance on treaty? When we talk about J Treaty, for example, and things like that, what is the stance? What is the interpretation?
Well, treaties are something that came across the water on a boat, and they did that so they could get along. If you go into the history of Europe, it's a history of war. It's a history of fighting. It's a history of warriors. It's a history of amazing. If you go into their offices and into their buildings, there's always big paintings of war scenes. They're involved in war. Our side of it wasn't like that. When we had combat, it was almost like a game. Sometimes it could get lethal, you could die in it, but at the same time, didn't have to. It was an amazing way of getting along. But I would say that the treaties that we made in the beginning were based on trust at the time. And when we made this treaty with the Dutch, 1613, way back there, we talked to the Dutch, and they said, well, we want to come and we want to trade, and we want to, they were noted for trade. And we said, well, we've been watching you for a while now. It doesn't look like you're going to be going home any too soon. So why don't we talk about how we get along first? Let's lay down our relationship. And that was the two-roll wampum that we made. Here's your ship with all your different people, with all your goods in there, all your shiny objects, and here's our canoe. A very simple life, and very one law for one people. But here's the river of life, and our two vessels going down the river of life, side by side, come together, side by side, with respect, and with a love, a real love for one another. And we'll use these principles of peace, friendship, for as long as the sun rises, as long as the grass is green, as long as the rivers run downhill. Those three links, called the covenant chain, tie our two vessels together. You in your boat, we in our canoe, side by side, mutual respect. I said, that's a good idea. What happens if one of our people get in your canoe and your people get in our boat? We said, well, that's going to happen. And that will happen a lot, but more of our people getting in your boat than you coming in our canoe, because our life is hard, and we don't have what you have. But we said the ones that you're going to worry about is the one with 1 foot in the boat and 1 foot in the canoe. Those are the ones that will be a problem. They said even though we make this agreement now, in the future there's going to be a big wind and it'll blow our vessels apart. Those people like that will fall into this river of life, and there's no power on this side of the creation to help them. 1613. And they said, those are good words, we agree with that. And the English picked it up. And New Amsterdam became New York. And then the French picked it up. And they all picked that too. And it's there today. So the part of the treaties that you hear consistently, most consistently, is as long as the sun shines, as long as the grass grows green. That's where that started. And all the treaties carry those words. You hear it again and again, no matter whether you're in Montana or you hear those words. Because everybody used that. That's a foundation. And so we put everything into that. Our trust, our relationship. And our brother at the time agreed. And as times change, he forgot his promises. But the treaty stands. The treaty stands. And so as we made those treaties after that Turo, many treaties came after that. So when you get to Standing Rock, you get to the 1851 treaty, you get the 1868 treaty, you get to all these treaties, and they're powerful treaties. They were made from strength, and they stand. In the Constitution of the United States, in Article 6, it says very clearly, treaties are the supreme law of the land. That's never been changed. It's in the Constitution. It's still there. That's the treaties. So we hold these treaties, and our brother has managed to break every one of those promises. He's managed to do that, but that doesn't mean those treaties don't stand. It doesn't mean it's not there. And that's why we're holding him to the line now, giving him a chance to redeem himself and keep the life going, as you mentioned, compassion. When they choose leaders for Six Nations, that's the number one they're looking for, compassion for the people. That's what they're looking for, base foundation. And so for that, for all the people, the human species is a species. It's like dogs. The dogs come in all sizes and all colors. And the human beings come the same way. All sizes, all colors, but they're all still human beings. So we're related. We're tight related. And we can change blood. Can't get any tighter than that. When you change blood with somebody, that's your brother, that's your relation. Whether whatever color they are, black, white, yellow, whatever, we can change blood. So that means you're family. So that's what we have to remind them. That we're one family, we need each other. And the variety of what you mentioned is important. The fact that your nation has those ways of doing things, this nation has that ways, it's important to keep those going, different, not put them all together, because they have a purpose in each place. That's why they're like that. And we know, when we went to the UN, 1977, we got out of the box, we were there, and we had a great belief that now we were finally going to get to some place where people are going to hear what we're doing. And what we found out was that was the same brother standing there. Oh my God. So we have to say, we have to work together for a common good, for the common cause, for life. On this earth now, as the value of the species is coming, if we don't work together, we're not going to survive as a species. That's just simple. And the things that our people have to offer is those values. Peace, the value of peace, and the value of respect for the earth, and the understanding of the value of what keeps you, and also your responsibility to the future. And that's where we're at, and that's where leadership of the world should be collecting into one place and saying, we have a responsibility for the future. And doing that, we have to put aside what we would like for what's necessary. And that's what we have to offer them. And they're beginning to listen because they're beginning to feel global warming now. The ice is melting. Things are changing. The heat is here. And this is just the beginning. Understand that in Arizona a couple of weeks ago, it was 127 degrees. I can tell you right now, that's just the beginning. It's going to get hotter. And what's going to happen? What are we going to do? So that's where people should be thinking about now. And we should be working together. And, old chief said to me, Onondaga, one time, he says, you're coming on now on our council. You're going to find out it's hard to be an Indian. It's hard to be who you are. And it's hard to be that, he says, because you always have to put down what you're doing and go help somebody. And sometimes you never get what you're doing done. He says, but that's who we are. Put it down, go help somebody. He says, that's our way. He says, you're going to find that out. And I sure did. I sure did. So, I think, personally, we're at this point that we haven't lost the fight. That our survival is not over. It's on the cusp. I would say it's like the 11th round of a 12-round championship fight. We're in the 11th round and we're even. The fight is even. How it goes in the next round will determine whether we live or survive, or whether that 7th generation has a life. It's here. It's now. It's not tomorrow. It's not there. It's people here. So, back home, when we go home, we have to shore that back up again. We have to talk to our people, get back to those ceremonies, get back to those dances, get back to those Thanksgiving. That's how you instruct your children. We never sat our children down in the school. They learn by watching grandma, grandpa. They learn by watching mom, dad out there dancing. That's how they learn. We never said sit. Just go with your dad when he's going hunting. That's how you learn. I was hunting with my father, and I was maybe 6 or 7, and he had a shotgun. And deer in 1940 or 1937 were very few in the Northeast. They had been hunted out. So even to cut a track was something. So we were walking, and there was a wood hedge that was straight down, and then a big field. And it was deep snow and cold, and I was sitting next, and I saw this deer stick his head out of the woods, going to look, And I said, nah, Look, he hit me, bang. Picked the gun up, bang, he got the deer. So I was laying on the ground here, the deer was staked over there. He said, don't make any noise around you. So you learn. There was two of us laying down.
What is your message today? You know, we look at what's happening most recently over in Virginia, Carolinas, some of the wars, contemporary wars today. You know, I hate to always say that history tends to repeat itself. Sometimes we talk about World War II, Nazism, you know, you look at all these things that are happening politically. You know, what is your feeling about a lot of that today?
Well, the thing is that this country, and I'm going to talk about the United States as a country, not Turtle Island the way it used to be, but the United States as a country. When our brother came across the water, he brought slaves. He brought black people here, and he put them to work. And he brought a lot of disease with him. And he brought a different way of thinking that has compiled on that. And he made a decision that color made a difference. That being white was the best of everything, and everything else was less. And so he's built a nation on racism. Racist nation. I mean, you can't be more racist than this nation. And the president of the United States today is reflecting that right out. Now he's not hiding anymore. He's reflecting that right out. And the country is sick. It's a sickness, and it's never purged itself. It had a big civil war in 1864, 65. It was a great civil war where they killed each other by the hundreds of thousands. They were brothers. They were family. They killed each other over this issue. Race. And they never resolved it. They never resolved it. It was always under everything, no matter what you were doing. Now it's come back out of it. It's because they never addressed it. If they can address it now, if they can overcome these skinheads, these militia, these men with guns of all different kinds, racist group of people who were looking for a fight, spoiling for a fight. They said, oh boy, good, get your good, here we're going out now. Trump, open that up. Now it's up to this country to overcome that racism. Put it down. Deal with it finally, because if you don't, it's done. You're not cohesive enough to battle the forces that are coming. You've got to be together. We all have to be together. It's going to take every one of us, I don't care what color you are, to deal with what's coming. And if you don't get that together, you're just going to suffer the consequence. So they're at that point. You ask that. When you ask that, what is the condition? There it is. Right now, today. Now, old Hopi told me long ago, he said, this fight's going to go on. And they'll fight us and we'll fight them on this big field. And now he said, then every once in a while we step back and get a rest, get a breath, and then we come back again. He says, our brother has a shorter patience than us. So then he's going to be coming over with a wheelbarrow full of money. Big money, a lot of money. He said, a lot of our people are going to take that. he goes back and he says, well, we're not going to listen to it, we'll just go get rid of it. So here he comes again. And it's going to be bad for our people because the numbers are uneven. But at some point, he's feeling so secure that he's going to take his mask off and he's going to show you who he is. Take his mask off. That arrogance will make him lose. He'll lose on that arrogance. He thinks he's strong enough now to do it. So, the American people have to stand. All those people who sit in the shop here, that's all distraction. That's all distraction. Global warming out there. It's coming. Keep people busy. 100,000 people in a football stadium every weekend. That's a distraction. Global warming coming. So he keeps his own people distracted and not occupied. Meanwhile, he's taken. So now, he took the mask off. His own people are saying, ooh. They're pointing at him. He's arrogant, secure, and strength. Not going to win. So Hopi said, we'll hold. But it's going to take everybody. It's going to take all our brothers out there. The Americans are the ones that's going to have to stand. So you see the groups, at Standing Rock. I was up at Standing Rock. I see how many white people were there with us. Young people. There you are. So that coalition is starting to build now. And I think the American people are in a shock over Trump. But it was a slap. When it was so hard, that's the kind of a slap they needed to wake up. So now the question is what they do. And the best direction is coming from our leaders, which is respect, work for the future, don't be concerned with your own wealth, and listen, and be thankful. If we can get those things into our brothers, to even be thankful, it will help in that fight. I don't think it's over. I think we're at this point. I say, don't let this fool you. Don't let this fool you. So,
way back, among our people, there's always been a teaching. We always say what goes around comes around. When you have this lack of respect, and you see a lot of things, especially directed toward Mother Earth, and a lot of our teachings, whether to love one another, to respect one another. We always say, well, what goes around comes around. Eventually it'll catch up to them. Well, today I tend to find that we're at that threshold that we can't sit back anymore and wait and say, let destiny, let the Creator come back in their face, because we have to take action. We have to step, forth and vote. We got to participate in government and what have you. Though maybe to some it may be foreign, but well, I give up. I'm going to go out and live out on a reservation, go back in the bush. Well, you still got to drink the same water and breathe the same air. If we don't get involved, you see what is happening today. The lack of respect, and you see that, the almighty dollar has become the god of a lot of the people. I hate saying it. I'm a loyal Democrat all my life, but I look at the Republicans as lobbyists. I had to work with them and growing the respect that we're all human beings, and I just wish there was more conscience out there, that people would learn to revere and respect as native people. Mother Earth. We look at water, what happened just recently in the water. We look at, again, the Accords, the Paris Accords, again, they're saying that respect the ozone layer, the air. What is happening today? Where are we going? Wake up, people, because it's happening right now. And I tend to find the media is perhaps one of the avenues that we look at and trying to get the people to understand out there. We look back to the era, the stereotypes way back. And today, it's here. I was involved recently with, back about 10 years ago, with alternatives to fossil fuels. When I worked for AFN, I worked for the chiefs in Canada. And it's already here. It's already been devised for the last 20 years. There are alternatives to fossil fuels, aqua fuel. We look at things that we don't need, but again, I was warned by the FBI, the Secret Service, that I had to speak at a Senate hearing, and I addressed the issue. I don't think it was worth one life, killed in Saudi Arabia and the Middle East for oil, when we have the alternatives already here today. And people came, one of the FBI agents, a personal friend of mine, came and said, be careful of those words because you can get assassinated. The petroleum industry does not want to accept these alternatives that are here today. And now today we look at the destruction, what happened in North Dakota. Was I found ironic, but they were blocking it here, crossing north of the reserve there. Where was that oil coming from? But from the next reserve just north of there in North Dakota. And I kind of sit there and laugh, one reserve versus another. And you're saying, well, look at the alternatives. It's here today. We don't need that oil. We got aqua fuel. And what I've discovered in aqua fuel, it was a multi-purpose thing. The price of 7 cents a gallon. Multi-purpose, you could use it in our vehicles. And it get 96 miles per gallon. 7 cents a gallon. And there's no pollutants released in the air. You could use it for acetylene. You could use it for barbecues. It's a multi-purpose thing. But yet society, the petroleum industry, refuses to accept it. And saying, well, it's here today. And what I found ironic, it was created by a Native American. And one of my friends got a hold of some of the information, and he went public with it. Be darned, and somebody assassinated him a month later. The petroleum industry. So they don't want to accept that. And I look today, now you look at the government, you look at our president today that doesn't believe in pollution, doesn't believe for the almighty dollar. You look at the vested interests that he has in the oil industry. You look at environment, you look at pharmaceutical. Every aspect, he's part owner of it. And I'm saying that, well, come on, public, wake up. You see what is happening to our world, the lack of respect. And it's something that I kind of wanted to say, well, how do you feel about that? Where are we going?
I think in this month's Economist, the magazine, I don't know if you know about the Economist, but it's a magazine that talks about the economy worldwide and so forth. And the cover of the Economist is the engine. The engine is laying there in all parts like this, and it said roadkill. Roadkill. The combustion engine is over. And what he's talking about, which is the new energy, is coming, and it's there actually. The Tesla car, the electricity and so forth, it's coming. That combustion engine, that oil that runs it, the economy, that's the front cover. Roadkill. It may take time, but it's done. It's already done. The new energy is coming, and the way the world works with the economy, they go where the economy is the best. So you're going to lose the oil. The engine is over. It'll take time. We're not going to do it overnight, but the process is now. So yes, but the time frame that I'm concerned about in all of that is the global warming time frame. What are they going to do about that? I mean, you have to address fossil fuel that's coming out, which is the carbon, which is causing the global warming, and that has to cease. But right now, there's one thing begets another. So as the ice is melting in the north, the permafrost, they call it permafrost because it's permanent. Well, it's not permanent. It's melting now. And so as it melts, methane, that deadly gas is coming out. All over the Arctic. It's coming out. That's that. So regardless of your cars and regardless of all that, we got another element out there that's causing caused by the cars. So it takes immediate action. So the process of this becoming the next energy is a slower process than meeting the issue of global warming. So we have to get them to move faster. We have to get the oil industry, and they are buying up the other stuff too. They're also buying up all the new stuff. But they want to expend what they put into the ground, the money that's their business. So it's at a point where decisions of that kind will decide how we survive. It's very real, and we're in a time frame now, but I don't think it's over. And I think that cover to me was really it made me laugh, because the way it's done, combustion engine roadkill is done. But that's a statement, and it also says that they're aware, they know what's going on. And countries like Japan, countries around the world are positive. There's a lot of people out there fighting that we don't know about, because America's in a bubble. You only see what goes on here, but around the world, people are standing up. So I think good fight. I think that this kind of a discussion, public discussion, which needs to get out into the general media. This would be good if it would be on ABC or CBS or NBC, but they're corporation owned, so it's never going to get there. They've captured all of that. But the internet, that's a free-for-all out there. But what they've done there is they've made it to the point where you don't know whether it's true or not. So there's a lot of information, but you don't know whether it's true or not. So they mitigate. So it goes on. But I think spirited fight like my brother got here, I like to hear that. And Harmon,
in closing, I kind of wanted to say something, an old teaching that we have among our people, and as I come from the bush myself and raised by my grandparents, and in the fall of the year, when we shoot our deer, getting ready for the winter months, we always look at the hides, how thick they are, and the fat will tell you the upcoming year as to, if we're going to have a long, cold winter, and you see the amount of fat on it. Now today, the deer, they're all drug infested. There's no fat on the hides anymore. And they're all infested with bugs and diseases like that, and which goes to tell what man is doing to Mother Earth, and nature itself is retaliating. Now, what is there? There's not going to be a tomorrow, and I think the emphasis has to be put out to society as a whole, to the people in the world, that wake up, Mother Earth, we don't treat her with respect. You take something from, every time we take a deer, something from Earth, we always replace and put something back. We offer tobacco, we give something back to that spirit, bless it in a good way, and thank them, appreciate them for protecting, providing a life for us. But again, a lot of these traditions are lost. They are gone. The teachings are gone. But again, that was kind of my message to the world today. Wake up, look at that deer now, look at that hide. There's no more fat. There's all disease. They're all dying off now in numbers. Look at the fish with the populations of the world and what is happening. Diseases that we never heard of, as you said at the very beginning. When the European people, the pilgrims came to this land, they brought these disease-infested blankets, and we had millions of Native Americans. Today, what do we have? Into the thousands, and it's sad, it's really sad. I think the teachings, we do hold a lot of good teachings. Some of it we say sacred, but I think out there we have to share it in order to preserve Mother Earth.
Yeah, we have a group called the Traditional Circle of Indian Elders and Youth, and that was started by a Montana cowboy, a white guy. He says, "You Indians know so much. Our people don't know anything." He says, "Well, you gotta help us and share it." And he started that whole business, and so we brought Hopis together. We brought traditional leaders way back there in '74, and we said, starts asking for help. What do we do? Well, let's think about it. So we thought about a couple of years, we kept meeting, and finally we just continued. Said, yeah, we should work together. So this year in Flathead, we had our 40th anniversary of the Circle of Elders, and the old cowboy's still alive. He's 94, I'm 87, and we started that, together. And we had this new group of people on both sides. There's only one or two of us left from original, and but they said that we brought them together. We had the meeting together, morning sunrise. Boy, they did a good ceremony for them. Brought them in. First time in 40 years that we. And we said, took a long time, huh? And Bob says, "About time, you guys." He said, but he was so happy. And they said to us, "Let's go." So the help that you're talking about, which is their side, and they're quite powerful people on that side too. So they're gearing up. They're gearing up for this work together, and that's what it's going to take. Got to start. Got to start right away, quick.
Wise words, never better spoken, I guess, in the sense that, again, I have to admire and thank you for being here today. I've admired and respected you since the 1960s, 70s, and let's not wait another 20 years before we run into each other again. But, long for the people out there may not know, when you talk about the movement, American Indian movement, long before, the Belcourts, the Maines brothers, that was the late 1960s and everything. There was Oren Lyons. We look at what occurred back in the early 1960s, and like I say, taking treaty talk to an international level, you did it. And like I say, I admire you, and perhaps being one of the first advocates in behalf of our treaty people, treaty talks, and especially taking it to an international level, and I admire one of the greatest of all time.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an inspiration, and thank you for just giving us this message. We will put it out there. We may break it into 5-minute segments because these kids don't listen for an hour for anything. So we'll say Oren 1, Oren 2, Oren 3, Oren 4. But it's always an inspiration.
Say one thing about that. It's really not me. It's the wisdom of those counsel that I carry their words. And people think I said, "Boy, you good." I said, "No, I'm a runner." I said, "That counsel has been sitting there. They're telling me, well, you know how to talk to them. You go out and do that." So they sent me out. And but I'm doing what they're telling me. And I'm learning. I'm still learning. Still learning. Never stop. Your nation has stuff yet to teach. Everybody's got things to teach yet. So I just think I feel pretty strong today. I feel as though we're in a good fight, and I think we're in a position where we can drop that left hook into the LeBrons.
I like that. Don't let this do the time. I like that. I hope.
We're going to take a little 5-10 minute break. We're going to hear the other side of really the movement and where it is today with the lawyers of North. They're going to be coming in and talking about the contemporary issues of Native American rights, and they are just as significant today as the message of the elders, because this world has become one of rights, not only Native rights, but also everybody's rights are being threatened. And Native American Rights Fund is one of the few people out there consistently putting out the message, the good word, the good heart, keeping culture going. So we'll take a 5-10 minute break and get back into it. What a wonderful afternoon.
Oh, don't forget, movie tonight. Spirit game.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much.